All right, so we wanted to show how this can be configured. So obviously we have the Continental sensor here. We have the Continental sensor in a bypass rig there. And we have a few different configurations of our new sensor. We wanted to show here, this is configured exactly like the Continental sensor with male 3/8 fittings on each side. But since our fittings are removable, we just have it on there, for demonstration purposes. As you can see, the fittings, they bolt on to the housing. So you can put whatever kind of fittings you need on directly onto the housing. So here it's configured. If you were replacing one of these and you didn't need the, to go to an AN style line or something larger, this would plug right in place with whatever adapters you already have. But really the idea behind this is to not need adapters anymore. So right here we have configured, this actually has the female 3/8 and the male 3/8 on it. So for example, if you had your fuel rail, you can literally unplug your fuel line. You could plug this straight on to your rail and plug your fuel line back on here, and it adds just over an inch to your line. So way less space than a Continental sensor with adapters all hooked on it, because we can do this configuration. So again, that's female and male. And then we have our ORB, which we configured in a ton of different ways. So this is a ORB to ORB right to a fuel rail. This is our Viper's fuel rail just for demonstration purposes. And then we have a -10 on this side. And again, this is no restriction straight through. So you can mount these on a fuel rail, you can mount them on a pressure regulator, and there will be no restriction, direct mount. And then there's also, you can see here, we have holes so that you can mount them to something if you would like. If it's in a line or wherever you put it, and if it's not hard mounted like this, there's a bracket option. So also, I think people have asked about the connector. Since our E-Sense has an analog output, so it has a 0 to 5 volt output, as well as a mimicking output that's the same as the Continental, we have our little adapter harnesses already made, ready to go. They plug right in, and that will plug right into whatever your Continental sensor was plugged into before if you're replacing it. That makes it for easy installation, and the only thing this doesn't have in it is the analog pin, obviously, because this is only a 3-wire. It is literally the same as the Continental. And that's what we wanted to show, is just how it can be configured, tons of different ways. We have all your different, and we have other things, but all your different plates that you can put on there to whatever kind of fittings on your sensor that you need in the smallest space possible without having any restrictions to your flow, and solving the issues that we see with the Continental, being able to rely on it and just having an overall sexy looking part compared to this thing. I mean, people know what these are, but we know what they aren't. And that's why we built our sensor, to meet all of the needs of the performance industry. So this is, even if you're running this in the same configuration as the Continental sensor, obviously less restrictive, even without going to a larger fuel line in this instance. As you can see, the Continental sensor has that inner ring, restricts it down. With our 3/8 fitting, there is no restriction. And I say just the fitting because the inside of the sensor is much, much larger than this, and there is no restriction. So running it in this configuration where you're still using the 2 males, the same as the Continental, you're still going to be able to flow more fuel without going up in line size.